In tonight's Top Gear, the first test on TV for the Aston Martin Vanquish. Full service history, classic cars go to auction, and Civic Pride, Honda's latest Type R.
The very name Ferrari has been the envy of the car manufacturing world for over 50 years. Even if some models haven't quite lived up to that majestic reputation, they're still the cars of everyone's dreams. Back in the 60s, Ford envied the marque so much they tried to buy it in order to win at Le Mans. But Ferrari wasn't for sale, so they built their own GT40 and in 1966 broke Ferrari's 6-year winning streak at the classic event. And now Ford want to take on Ferrari again. And this is what they want to beat. The long, sensuous 550 Maranello. One of the few Ferraris I wouldn't want in racing red, because this is a grand tourer in the finest sense. It doesn't shout supercar, it simply oozes breeding. A classic two-tone leather interior, clear, simple to read dials, a tactile row of switches, and best of all, a V12 under the bonnet. The driving experience is second to none. The Ferrari responds instantly to every movement of the steering. It's alive in your hands. Then start changing gear with this exotically gated lever, and the fun factor is already at maximum levels. So what on earth can Ford come up with that's going to beat this? Well, it's certainly not going to be this GT90 concept car that Jeremy drove at Le Mans a few years back. That's been consigned to the Detroit dustbin. No, one of their recent acquisitions is much better placed to do the job. One of the few that has a reputation that can stand up to the fearsome prancing horse. Aston Martin. They too have been winners at Le Mans and were the world's sports car champions the year they did it back in 1959. They also provided the favourite set of wheels for Britain's favourite Secret Service agent and were a match for any Ferrari through the 60s. But then the money ran out. David gradually turned into Goliath as development funds disappeared. But that all changed with the arrival of Ford's fortunes in 1987. The first product from the new partnership was the six-cylinder DB7, which was launched in 1994 and replaced by a 420 horsepower V12 Vantage version in 1999. And now Ford are once again ready to go head-to-head against Ferrari with this, their Aston Martin Vanquish. Striking 19-inch wheels immediately grab your attention, while the aggressive front end gradually flows into a softer rear with the bulging wings reminiscent of the famous Zagato Aston of the 60s. So, very impressive on the outside, but I'll bet you think the inside's going to be like a 19th century gentleman's club. Well, you'd be wrong. The interior of the Vanquish is 21st century all the way. Again, quality two-tone leather, classic clear-to-read dials right in front of me. I'm not, however, quite so sure about the aluminium finish to this centre console, nor the half-aluminium steering wheel. And whilst a button like this is quite fun in a more funky machine, for a starter in something of this class, I'm not sure it's quite the right thing. It does, however, ignite V12 heaven. The engine is a development of the Cosworth V12 used in the DB7, but now with 460 horsepower and a Formula One style paddle gear change. It's glorious sounding just on tick-over. And it sounds even better as you wind it round towards the 7,000 RPM red line. This sounds like a supercar. The exhaust system is actually tuned to have little valves that open it on tick-over and over about 4,000 RPM, so it sounds racier. In between, it sounds nice and docile to keep everybody happy. But I'm only happy when it's got that revving noise on it. And that paddle change is almost the same as on the Ferrari 360. Then it would be because it's by the same people, Magnetti, Marelli. And once you're going, it's fantastic. Brake for a corner, down with the left hand, accelerate, up with the right. It really is a joy to use, but as with the Ferrari 360, it's not my cup of tea when it comes to getting around town, finding reverse, finding neutral. It's just a bit too fiddly for me. The driving position isn't quite as good as the Ferraris. You sit a bit higher and the steering wheel won't come back quite far enough for me. So I don't feel as though I'm really in it. But it doesn't take away the sheer enjoyment of driving this amazing new Aston. It does feel a slightly bigger car. I know it isn't, and it's silly to say that, but it is slightly heavier. But even though it's heavier, the brakes actually feel better, more reassuring than the Ferraris. Handling, it is so similar. Again, there's so much grip, even with the traction control off. Those big tyres in the back just keep the car pinned down. So, which is it to be for me? Well, the Ferrari perhaps handles just slightly better, but the Aston Martin has got the looks to die for and an engine noise I simply adore. They both get to 60 in around 4.5 seconds. They both cost about £160,000 and they're both fabulous thoroughbreds. There is no winner this time, and the choice will surely depend where your loyalties lie. Me? Well, I have to confess to having a bit of a soft spot for the prancing horse, and I'd have to have a gear lever, so it'd have to be the Ferrari. But I think I'll keep this Aston for a little bit longer.
I don't know, modern cars. Maybe I'm getting older, but they're all just so faceless and boring. And then you come to auctions, well, they're just a cattle market. I don't know, it's all so uninspiring. But it doesn't have to be that way. Take a look at this. No, not me, that.
Ah, the classic car auction. The motors may look fantastic, but they do tend to attract a certain kind of enthusiast, don't they? Don't they?
Do you know anything about classics?
No, not really.
We like old cars because they're just so different. All the new cars are virtually all the same.
I like convertibles.
Don't get me wrong, I'm not into older cars or anything, but when you come to a place like this, they just feel as though they got something more about them. But listen, I am not turning into a classic car enthusiast. The thing to remember about classic car auctions is that everything is sold as seen. I've seen it, and I'm not sold. Where's something shiny?
Somebody once told me the world is gonna roll me. I ain't the sharpest tool in the shed. Well,
You see, that's where the trouble starts. Shiny ones are still hard work. There are no warranties and precious little service history, which means the buck stops with you. But garage receipts and MOTs will clearly indicate how well the car has been looked after, and there are plenty of owners' clubs who can point you in the right direction as well.
Now, all these cars are locked because some scallywags come here souvenir hunting. But all you have to do is ask for the keys and you can have a prod around. Now, even if I was to ask extra nicely, they still wouldn't let me drive this 1979 MG Midget. Why? 41 miles on the clock. That's the distance from the factory to the showroom. Do you know this MG hasn't seen a hard shoulder? Good work, fella.
Hey now, you're an all-star.
In auction, however, this factory-conditioned Star didn't reach the reserve price of just £8,000, so it's still there for the taking.
Look at this absolutely mint Ferrari retro interior. I would love to be sat in the driver's seat, but haven't worked out how to open the driver's door yet.
And there aren't too many owner's manuals knocking about either.
Well, let's see what this does. Nope.
But a Ferrari for £8,500? A Ferrari?
You can't get a second-hand Mondeo for that.
Exactly what makes a classic is pretty much in the eye of the you-know-who, but it's certainly a very broad church. Try this functioning 1930 Dennis fire tender, sold for £15,000.
This is just getting silly.
Bidding? Well, that's pretty much a case of study your notes, grab yourself a number and get stuck in.
£2,100 only. It's been given away.
I've bought an Austin Healey and I paid £5,500.
Was it pretty straightforward?
Yeah, there was a lot of information on the website beforehand, and there's a lot of information about the cars when you come to read up on.
Wish you'd come to one of these auctions a bit earlier.
Yes, definitely do it again. It was brilliant.
OK, this scimitar's just gone for £800. We've already seen a Merc 450 SL that went for £2,200 and a bright yellow Daimler Sovereign that went for £400. There's bargains to be had. Look at it, it's chilled out. The bloke with a hammer, you can understand everything he's saying. It's all very relaxed. And that smoke behind me isn't an old car on fire. It's a barbecue.
The most expensive lot on the night was also the oldest, a 1904 Pierce Arrow Motorette, a snip at £24,000. But I reckon amongst the best bargains was that 1981 Daimler Sovereign, with tax just £500.
I just saw one of these on TV on Lock, Stock, 2 Smoking Barrels film, and always wanted one.
So it went to someone in the trade. But hey, they're allowed to have fun as well.
They look different, they sound different, and they're not that expensive. Plenty of the cars here have gone for below the list price in the book. If you're after a different type of car and a different type of car buying experience, maybe you should check out a classic car auction. But I'm still not a classic car enthusiast.
Still to come on Top Gear, Honda's Civic Type R. Cut-down saloons from Mercedes and BMW. And the Top Gear verdict.
High performance and high-octane antics seem to go hand in hand with Honda. They've built F1 engines, successful ones. They've created saucy cars, the NSX and the S2000. And by Jove, they have a super hot sub-brand of Type Rs, the Accord and the Integra. There's just one problem, though. Most Brits still think Hondas are for people whose other vehicle is a stair lift. Sick of such stick, Honda has gone mad, and they've turned their companionable bestseller into a tarmac-tearing hot hatch. This is the Civic Type R. Well, it looks the part with a cheeky rear spoiler and aggressive mesh front grille. Overall, it is sleeker than you'd imagine, given the height of the standard Civic, and that's because it sits low on its racy 17-inch alloys. The wheelbase is sportily shorter than the 5-door Civic, and Honda have slapped a load of Type R badges everywhere, just in case you're in any doubt of what you're in. With a fiercely competitive price of just under £16,000, Honda hopes to transform its ageist tag from frumpy to funky once and for all. Keeping a firm grip on those low-profile tyres isn't difficult with this compact and quick-reacting steering. And these typically snug Type R seats are a pleasure to slide into. Boy racers will be pleased to see that white dials haven't died, and neither has the penchant for shiny trim. Now, Type Rs aren't best known for their very long equipment lists, and the Civic is no exception. You do get a Category 1 alarm, central locking, electric windows, power steering and anti-lock brakes, but that's about your lot. At least it is a bit better spec than the Integra, the car that launched Honda's Type R series 4 years ago and whose shoes this Swindon-built Civic steps into. The most unusual sensation comes when you change gear. The alloy-topped lever not only sits on the dash, which is unconventional in a hatch, let alone a hot hatch, but the throw is reasonably short and you've got 6 cogs to choose from. A strengthened body shell and stiffer suspension could make you think the Civic Type R has the ride quality of a lawnmower, but no, it's far more civilised. Well, on these smooth French roads anyway. Do you know, I haven't told you the best bit yet. Under that bonnet is a 2-litre VTEC engine with 197 brake horsepower that just needs to be set free. Out on the track, you realise Type R stands for racing. Using all 8,000 of its ready revs, this thing will hit 62 miles an hour in 6.8 seconds. And it won't stop until you've got to 146 miles an hour. With figures like that, it'll make Renault Sports Clio and Seat the Cupra R struggle to keep up. It's unlikely to have the feel to itself for long, though, as Ford have already announced their 200-brake Focus RS. But Honda's determined to give them a run for their money, especially when it comes to pricing. Hit 6,000 RPM and the urgency of the VTEC system increases notably to the red line in terms of power delivery and noise. Cracking. The front-wheel drive chassis on this fast and twisty track remains tight to the tarmac most of the time, unless it's provoked, in which case the rear end becomes light and frisky. Fantastic. The only thing that shows itself to be slightly flawed out here on the track is the steering. It doesn't give you 100% feedback. And we're giving it 100%. It is hard to believe that the origins of this Type R lie in the family-friendly 5-door Civic. Its feisty engine and chuckable chassis make it a real hot hatch. When it goes on sale in October, Honda will provide a day's road driving course to help fine-tune your skills to match the car's performance. For me, this car blows the barnets off the bowling green. This Civic Type R has definitely got what it takes to get young blood racing, and it should shift Honda's image problem. One thing's for sure, though, there will be a lot of hot-rodded pensioners rocking around if it doesn't.
This is the Citroën C5 Estate. Yabba dabba doo.
Not pretty enough to be stylish, not ugly enough to be quirky. You could argue it's Citroën returning to their eccentric Gallic ways, but it's not really ridiculous enough.
And that's its problem. It's not anything much. Anyone within 3 feet of this car are going to be struck by an overwhelming apathy. I know how they feel.
When it comes to estates, the most important thing is the boot, and the C5's got plenty. In fact, it's got the largest loading capacity in its class. But the French trickery doesn't end there. The sill height can be raised and lowered. Makes life easier for Fido.
And into the bargain, you get a reversible luggage mat. Nice. I don't know, maybe you want to chop and change it to match your luggage? Choice is yours. Anyway, with the seats folded down, you get 1,658 litres of stowage space, which is really, really great.
Unfortunately for the C5, it finds itself in some very difficult company. The Ford Mondeo, one of Britain's best-loved cars, complete with a brand new lease of life, kicks off at $15,580. The equally prodigious Laguna Estate punts off at £16,580. Both are better looking and nicer to drive.
The C5 starts the bidding at $15,580, which is exactly the same price as the Ford Mondeo. The Citroën comes with brake assist, 6 airbags, EBD and ABS. And there's also air conditioning, electric windows and
Traffic Master,
which, to be fair to the others, is pretty much what they've got to offer as well. It's got one of those fangled hydroactive suspension systems which alters the ride height. But not only that, it also detects the road surface as well. It all sounds very good if you're karting around grandfather clocks, but it actually works when you're trying to have fun as well. It's even got a sport setting. Let's not get carried away, just as a sport. The C5 gets a choice of 4 petrol engines and 3 diesel ones. This particular engine is the 2.2 litre HDI, which has 136 brake horsepower. And believe me, it's quite a tasty performer. But the real gem is the automatic gearbox. Normally, when you team up a diesel engine with an automatic gearbox, it doesn't really work. But this combination is full of beans. See, it's not all bad, is it, C5? You still talking to me?
Traffic Master.
That's my girl.
Hugely practical, entirely boring, but I've sort of grown to love it. 7 out of 10.
Sociologists and psychologists say we're changing. Take our man Russ. Here we see him a generation ago. A father of 2 with a good, solid job. Russ likes cardies, pension schemes and golf. Right, let's look at the same bloke in the year 2001. Perhaps because we're getting older as a society, we feel the need to act younger. Shameful, isn't it? Instead of slithering gracefully into middle age, Russ and millions like him are refusing to grow old. And don't the car companies know it? Watch as fusty old Mercedes-Benz gets funky. It's like watching your granddad breakdancing. My granddad was quite a nifty mover, as it happens. Now, naturally, it isn't just Mercedes-Benz that's swapping its comfy slacks for a pair of baggy shorts in the quest for the not as young as they think they are vote. No. Arch rival BMW is at it too. In fact, as these 2 German giants slug it out in Formula 1, there's a right old dust-up going on at the other end of the food chain, which is where we find the new BMW Compact and the Mercedes C-Class Sport Coupe. Germany, heaven help us, is letting its hair down. Which means that, in theory, I could spec this compact so that it looked like a cross between the inside of Elton John's wardrobe and the interior of a Munich lap dancing establishment. The permutations are indeed bewildering. 11 different exterior colours, 18 different interior colour schemes, a further 11 interior fabric possibilities. Inside this particular car, for example, it's clear that some loon has been let loose with a Brillo pad. And that is as sober as the compact gets. Sober and a mite stumpy, while the Merc goes all out for Formula 1 inspired aggression and is stuffed full of clever details. The sliver of glass beneath the spoiler in its rear end is one example, and its Mark I style Ford Caprice steering wheel is another. Now, I'm not entirely sure if that was the effect they were after, but I quite like it. Mark I Ford Capri. What a cool reference point. Ford's famous coupe isn't the only thing to haunt the Merc, but I'll come back to that later. Because I've got a more pressing inquiry. Is the Sport Coupe all show and no go? As far as this £20,290 C180 version is concerned, yes. Its body makes promises its engine can't deliver, with 60 miles per hour taking an eternal 11 seconds. Oh, there's very little doubt that the C-Class Sports Coupe is a well-sorted car, with grippy, solid handling, a comfortable ride, and generally very good manners. It's just that its wheezy 4-cylinder engine only produces 129 brake horsepower, and really, that is not enough to haul along what is a fairly substantial, chunky body. Which might leave you yearning for something a bit faster, like a skateboard. An ultra-low emissions vehicle, don't forget. Then, of course, there's the BMW. The 316 Ti SE you see here starts at a tempting £17,775. But don't get too tempted. This particular car is dripping in about £3,000 worth of options, including wheels, paint, sunroof, part leather seats, bringing us dangerously close to the £21,000 mark, which is a lot of dough for an entry-level BMW. And it gets worse. With only 115 bhp, this 1.8-litre compact is even less powerful than the Mercedes, with 0 to 60 taking about 10.5 seconds. Oh dear. But it gets better, because the BMW feels much livelier than the Mercedes, mainly because its 4-cylinder Valvetronic engine is quite amazingly advanced. Now, I'll keep this simple. Its breathing is very sophisticated, its fueling is more accurate, and its throttle response is much sharper, even though it doesn't actually have a conventional throttle. The compact also has the best steering of any current 3 Series, M3 included, and the usual fabulous BMW handling qualities. It's also quite beautifully built inside and out, with a neater dash layout than the Mercs. What a shame that the compact looks like a squirrel that's had its tail lopped off. All together now. Neither the Mercedes or the BMW is quite as youthfully vigorous as I'd like to think they are. Oh, will you turn that racket down? Thank you. I'd like to see the BMW's oily bits and general behaviour served up in the Mercedes' more glamorous body. Actually, what I'd really like to see happen is both these companies sticking to what they do best, which is building big, fast, expensive, elitist cars for rich people who play golf, and leave it at that. But that wouldn't be very satisfying though, would it? You see, Germany is trying to be stylish, whereas Italy just is. But there's a more compelling argument than that. Never mind that the Alfa Romeo 147 epitomises everything the BM and Benz are gunning for. It's also much cheaper. The 2-litre twin spark is under 16 grand. In fact, I don't even need to drive it to know that it pretty much fits the bill. But obviously I'm going to drive it. I mean, you know, it'd be a complete waste not to. The keys are in it. The Alfa is fast, fruity and fun to be around. It's very pretty and as well screwed together as its German rivals. Well, nearly. Still, you can be safe in the knowledge that there isn't a vast options list waiting to jump up and bite you on the wallet. I don't know. Maybe there's a lesson here for all of us. Trying too hard to be youthful, like Mercedes and BMW are doing, is just a bit sad. And if you ask me, baseball hats look better worn the right way round anyway. And besides, golf is very trendy these days. No, really, it is. Maybe my taste should be a bit more adult-orientated. No! On Top Gear next week. Wardrobes on wheels. Oriental city cars slug it out. Clio versus Ibiza. Hot hatch rematch. And what the inside of your car says about you.